Welcome to another NFL episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Wader. You know, the man next to me, the Austin Hill. Before we dive into NFL, if you haven't already, college football episode came out. Highly recommend it. We had our 10 millionth coach firing this year. At least that's what it's felt like so far this year.
Yeah.
And some of the fun matchups that are going to be taking place this weekend. Highly recommend tuning in for that one. However you view our episodes, give that a watch or a listen. But this is the NFL episode, and I'm going to be honest with you, Austin. The NFL this past week was, how do I say it in the nice way, absolutely terrible from a viewership perspective as far as all of them. We'll get to that in a second. But, you know, with talking about how terrible it's been, let's talk about something that was awesome. That's the World Series so far, tied 2-2 with
Yeah.
game 5 tonight. Obviously, the 18-inning classic happened the other night. For those of you who want to know, yes, I stayed up for that entire thing.
I did not.
I was about to say it was one of the toughest things I've done. Probably after like the 14th inning, I was like, okay, that was fun for a while, but like,
Yeah.
stop, stop. Oh my God, why are we in the 16th? Oh my gosh, 17th. Stop. It's enough slices, as someone say, you know, for a fun reference there. But
Yes.
um, but it's now 2-2 series. Game 5 is tonight. I believe you said Blue Jays in 5. I had Blue Jays in 6. But I guess, you know, you're a baseball fan. What have you liked about what you've seen so far?
What I've liked is that both teams are kind of showing what they're so great at. We've seen kind of that rotation of the Dodgers be kind of lethal and deadly through some parts of this series. Um, but we've also seen the Blue Jays come up and have those big offensive spurts. You know, Blake Snell early in that first game, you know, it wasn't always terrible. He was throwing a high amount of pitches, but he was getting out of it. They were up 2-0. They put a hurting on the young pitcher for him, Trey Savage, and down up 2-0. But then that big sixth inning happened where they
I
cracked
believe
the
it
game
was.
wide open
Woo.
after getting it to 2-2. So we've really seen fun baseball. And what I like also is that, you know, as kind of a Dodgers hater, I was still worried that even though I like the Blue Jays, and I did pick them to make it this far, um, and I picked them to win this series, I was worried that, you know, it just wouldn't matter. And the Dodgers would be the Dodgers and they'd run right through the series. But for the Blue Jays to take game 1, and I think even more importantly, to take game 4 last night in LA is absolutely huge for the Blue Jays. It shows just how good this team is. We've seen it again all season from the Toronto Blue Jays, but they look so good right now. I think it's just been fun baseball to watch back and forth. You've got a lot of great players
Mhm.
playing in this series on both ends. And really getting to see these two teams clash and play some great baseball. I'm excited to see how these last, you know, potentially 3 games shake out. But if I'm the Dodgers, I'm shaking my head a little bit after losing last night because you could have had the chance to close out the series in LA. Now you're gonna have to win at least one in Toronto, depending on how the game goes tonight. I think if the Dodgers lose, this is a must-win tonight for the Dodgers.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
lose
Yeah.
tonight, it's going to be a tough stretch to win 2 games in Toronto in
Yeah.
front of this Blue Jays crowd against this Blue Jays team.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, you got to win this one. So all it takes is one. So all you need to show up for one game in that world, in either game 6 or game 7 if you win tonight. But I do love we're going to get some Halloween baseball because game 6 is going to be on October 31st on Halloween. So that's just fun. You could have some Halloween baseball. Last time I remember there being some baseball on Halloween, I believe it was like Braves and Astros from a few years ago in that series. That was a great game on Halloween. I remember I was watching that whenever passing out. So, yeah, I've enjoyed it. I always say it every single year. For those of you who don't know, playoff baseball is just a different breed. Like when it comes to the
Yeah.
passion, the environment, the skill level, and this series has proved it. And I'm honestly rooting for it to go to 7 games. I want a 7-game series, honestly, just for complete bias reasons. But we'll see what happens tonight in game five with a tied 2-2. Yeah, but I agree with you. Dodgers, they got to win. If they don't win tonight, they ain't winning two in a row in Toronto. I will just say that. So,
Great.
yeah, I'll say Dodgers tonight. Then you can say Toronto takes games 6 and 7 at home. But enough talk about that. I guess we'll dive into the NFL now and talking about it. Just a rough stretch in the NFL this past Sunday. We'll go over some of the scores in a minute. But let's do our annual tradition with our biggest winners and losers, Austin. We're talking about how bad it was. Let's start with something good. Give me your biggest winner from this past Sunday or Monday in the NFL.
I think the biggest winner this week, to me personally, is the Miami Dolphins. You talked about last week, benching Tua, just nothing going your way. How about this? Tua goes out there, slings the ball. This team wins big against a pretty competitive Atlanta Falcons team. And while I hate to say it, but you can probably go ahead and write off the playoffs for this Dolphins team.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this is good for the morale. This is good for the fan base. It shows exactly why this team believes in guys like Mike McDaniel and believes in guys like Tua Tagovailoa. This is the kind of game that showed that. Also, shout out to the Dolphins for having this game, because I'm in a fantasy league with some guys I used to work at Walmart with, and one of the bozos dropped Tua after last week. And I kind of needed a backup quarterback because Geno Smith's been my backup. I played Jalen Hurts all year, but bye week for Jalen Hurts this week. And I knew that was coming up, and I really didn't want to have to be stuck to playing Geno. So I picked up Tyrod Taylor as maybe a fun guy to play. Fortunately, haven't had that. And so then I picked up Tua, and he goes out and slings like that. Hopefully, he can carry that momentum into this week for me. But I thought this was an awesome showing for a Dolphins team that everybody, including us, kind of wrote off after last week and was maybe saying, go to the rookie.
Yeah, speaking of stuff, teams we wrote off, I'll give a biggest winner to the team that won their first game. We'll obviously talk more about that. The New York Jets getting a win on Sunday. Really in honor of Nick Mangold, their center, who did pass away on Sunday. Rest in peace to him, one of the better centers in recent memory in the NFL. But yeah, great comeback win for the Jets on the road, especially after all the drama this week with the owner, Woody Johnson. It amazes me that the man keeps on opening his mouth. He is similar to Tua. Keep the microphones away
Yeah.
from him at all times with that. So, but Jets to me were biggest winners. They were able to get their first win of the year, which means we will not have a 0-18 team this year, Austin. We're gonna or 0-17 team this year. We're gonna have to try again next year. But what about biggest loser? There's several good candidates based on some of these games.
Yeah. It's kind of tough to go around and look around the league. I'll go ahead and say, just at personally being disappointed, I'm going to give the biggest loser to the Chicago Bears. I think, already talking about the Falcons and Dolphins game, I'll go to Chicago here. And look, it wasn't a terrible game, but some kind of costly turnovers from Caleb Williams, which, again, I'm not going to give him too much flack because it's his first year in the system, second year in the NFL. I think if you're expecting anybody to be perfect at this point in their career is wrong. But look, a banged up Ravens team, but they came up fired up and ready to play in this game, and they were able to take advantage of Chicago's mistakes and hurt them. I thought the Bears just made some careless mistakes in this game, and that they were pretty much in the whole time. And I just a little bit disappointed to see that kind of showing after the last 4 weeks, or 4 weeks before the bye week, I guess.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen, if you see me on my phone, I am currently retweeting everything possible to try to get College Game Day to the Battle of the Ravine.
Please.
I'm doing my part to try to get us there. I don't know if they'll go, but I almost feel like
When
they're.
is that? Is that next week?
It'd be the 15th, I believe, is when the game is. So
Okay,
it'd
so
be
two
not
weeks.
this coming Saturday, not this upcoming one, but it'd be like a couple weeks from now. Uh, so. I'm
Yeah,
rooting for. We'll
two
see
weeks.
what that happens there. So if you see me on my phone randomly, it's probably because I'm reposting something. I don't want to say Reese Davis did that on purpose, but I kind of feel like Reese Davis did that on purpose. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, talking about biggest loser, several good candidates. I'll go with my heart. because my heart was literally lost when Cam Scadaboo was lost for the season. Just nothing. I have nothing else to say there. I don't want to even talk about it anymore. Cam Scadaboo, please get healthy for next season. Just it was a tough injury to watch, but. Let's just talk about how rough this Sunday was, Austin, in some of the games. Just for reference, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and label some of the scores for you from Sunday, not to mention Monday Night Football, which was also a blowout. 34 to 10, 30 to 16, 40 to 9, 32 13, 23 3, 38 14, 44 24. And that's just a few to name it. But, Austin, there was only one game decided by single digits on Sunday, and that was Jets and Bengals, which we'll probably get to in a second. As it was probably truly the only true entertaining game of the day. But this past Sunday, Austin, was the first day with 1 or 0 games decided by single digits since December 20th, 1970. So it has been a hot minute since we have seen this disgusting of an NFL slate on Sunday. But let's start with the positive, which was the Jets and the Bengals here. Jets coming back from behind to beat the Bengals 39-38. And with Cincinnati, this was their chance to gain momentum. They just beat the Steelers, gain momentum on everyone in the AFC North, keep on competing there with Joe Flacco. Jets were, let's just say it like it is. I don't want to say it, but I will say it. Basically a complete disaster with the owner coming out, questioning how good the team's quarterbacks truly are, and then that said quarterback starting for you on Sunday. But a great double-digit comeback for them in the fourth quarter. Thoughts on this one, not just for the Jets with their first win, but also for Cincinnati, blowing a chance to kind of get back on track here.
Yeah, it felt like they could have taken advantage of last week's momentum, and they didn't. But this has just been as a Justin Fields fan page and podcast here. This felt good. Woody Johnson. I mean, obviously there were the rumors that the team was going to look to go with Tyrod Taylor this week
Right.
uh, as the starting quarterback. Then Woody Johnson comes out and says, what he says, the stupid things he says. Justin Fields, nothing but class when asked about it, says, I stay off social media. I don't really pay attention to that stuff. It doesn't bother me. I'm just going to go out here and just do my best for the team, which I thought was awesome. That's classic Justin Fields, just the best, awesome, super humble guy in the room, just always focused on getting better. And then Tyrod Taylor, not going to be ready to go for Sunday. The team declares him out. Now, kind of gun to your head if you're the Jets after the way you kind of made it sound like you didn't want to play Justin Fields this week.
Yeah.
And now you have to. And he comes out and balls out and plays well. So I love it as a Justin Fields fan, Justin Fields supporter for this big game. But yeah, absolutely squandered opportunity from the Bengals. And now it makes you wonder, what do the Jets do once Tyrod Taylor potentially gets healthy here in the next week or two?
Yeah, not only that, I mean, let's say it like it is. The Bengals could be without Joe Flacco this week. He's dealing kind of with an arm injury against the Bears that whenever they take on the Bears. So we could see the return of a Mr. Jake Browning. Wouldn't that be something? Haven't seen him in a hot minute. But that was truly the only close game. So before we dive into the rest of the games and summarize them up here in a little bit, let's talk about some breaking news in the last couple of days that have happened. We finally had a couple of trades get underway, Austin, as we talked about the trade deadline approaching and getting closer. I'll go ahead and label some of them off and we can kind of talk about them. One of the first ones, Patriots making some moves. First off, they trade pass rusher Keon White to the 49ers. They're doing a 6th-round pick swap there for the Patriots. And then the other one they made last night, the Patriots trading Kyle Duggar to the Steelers for yet another 6th-round pick swap there. Of course, Patriots just signed Duggar to, I think, a 4-year, $50 million deal this past offseason. So we'll talk about the other trades in a second, but thoughts on these two moves by the Patriots here near the deadline?
I thought, an interesting move to do these. The swaps are kind of weird. I feel like I wish maybe they would have gone for a little bit more because I don't know. And of course I don't know what, who owns the picks that they were swapping, but I feel like maybe right now I know that the Patriots actually have a pretty good record, but I think I'd almost rather have my pick than the Niners pick or my pick than the Steelers pick come the end of the season. Obviously, you always want to kind of bet on yourselves, but I feel like when you're making picks, you want to think about what maybe is going to be worth more down the road. But uh, good move for San Francisco here. They obviously we knew they're going to go try and upgrade this pass rush and this defensive line after losing Nick Bosa, and I'm sure this is not going to be the end of their moves, especially certain Trey Hendrickson. Till the trade deadline's passed, I think everybody will be calling about him, whether he's moved or not. Um, and then as far as the Steelers getting Kyle Duggar, look, like you said, they did sign Duggar to the extension, but I believe last trade deadline they floated his name around and they kind of floated the idea of maybe not bringing him back this offseason and trading him this offseason. Um, Even though I thought he's been a pretty good piece for them. But I think really for the Steelers, personally not a Steelers fan, so I don't exactly know how you feel. I feel like this is a good move, getting extra help in the secondary. Already had trouble at the one safety spot, not really being able to find somebody to be like the perfect fit alongside Minka Fitzpatrick. But then to send Minka back down to Miami and get Jalen Ramsey this offseason kind of left them with kind of some holes at the safety position. And now I think Kyle Duggar comes in and can be a piece that helps fortify the back end of that defense.
Yeah, I'm talking about it with the Steelers. Reason behind the move for Kyle Duggar, Deshaun Elliott tore his ACL on Sunday Night Football, so the Juwan Thornhill was going to be our starting safety, which he's a good depth piece, but I don't want that as my starting safety. So,
Yeah.
Deshaun, we'll see how Duggar does here. I don't know how good he is. The good news is if he works out, it's a guy who's already, gotten paid. So he's already under contract for the next couple of years. And if it doesn't, you could probably trade him in the offseason, get a couple pick swaps there. So nothing I would be too worried about there. I do agree. The Keon White one, I think, helps the 49ers here. The only reason I can think of these moves by the Patriots, you think about in the offseason, they cut a lot of guys who were this past regimes like signings or draft picks. Guys that really just didn't fit what Mike Vrabel wanted for his defense or with his offense in general there. So, you know, that's the only thing I can think of with this because I imagine they will still be buyers at the NFL trade deadline. At least that's just what I think with it personally. So we'll see what they can do there. Another trade that happened a few days before that, the Titans making one of their first moves. And this is a good trade, I think, for the Los Angeles Rams, picking up corner Roger McCreary, the former second-round pick at Auburn last year of his contract. Look, we know the Titans are going to be a team that's probably going to move a couple more pieces before the deadline does occur. But for the Rams, if there's one weakness to their defense, it has been the secondary. So picking up someone like Roger McCreary here, I think is absolutely a big win for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I agree. And Roger McCreary, really talented guy. Like you said, awesome kind of big move here. Like this move kind of on both sides for the Titans. You're talking about having to spend big money on a guy who is talented, but on a team that we really don't know when they're going to compete because we don't know when they're even going to. When this team goes a season without firing a GM or head coach, then I maybe would feel comfortable making some big time commitments to some of these guys. But until then, who knows what's going to happen with this team? So I like moving on. And like you said, really since the Super Bowl season for the Los Angeles Rams, the biggest issue with their defense has been their secondary and just fortifying it. And even that Super Bowl season, it felt like Jalen Ramsey did a lot of the heavy lifting in that secondary. So it'll be interesting to see kind of that addition and that upgrade. I'll also be interested to see what a guy like L'Jarius Sneed, who also is with the Titans, might
Yeah.
fetch at the deadline because that's another guy who really since leaving Kansas City for Tennessee hasn't really had the same kind of success as a
No.
corner, but he's still
No.
talented, still has a Super Bowl experience. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City or somebody else went to add them for their playoff run because he still has a talented, experienced quarterback.
Yeah. That is an interesting one. I'm not going to lie, you kind of forget about some players that are in
Yeah,
some places there. Completely forgot. I think that'd
agreed.
be a good move as well. I will say, brought up the Rams secondary in the Super Bowl run. Don't forget, they brought Eric Weddle out of retirement for the
That's
playoff.
true.
for that
because they
secondary. So
needed
that
depth.
tells you a lot.
Yeah, I did forget about that till you today. Yeah, they needed the depth.
Yeah, so we'll see if Roger McCreary works out. Nonetheless, it helps to improve their secondary there. Then, like a couple hours ago, maybe in like 2 hours ago, we had yet another trade. This was an interesting one for both sides. This one, Jets trading corner Michael Carter II to the Eagles for John Mechie III. The teams also will do a pick swap, with Philly getting a seventh and the Jets getting a sixth. To me, this is a win for both sides. The Jets needed some help at wide receiver. Garrett Wilson, I believe, is supposed to be going on IR here soon. They need help there. Plus, the Eagles could always use more depth in that secondary. And I saw a report that Vic Fangio said he wanted to put Cooper DeJean more to the outside. And with picking up Michael Carter, I think he said that they can be able to do that now. But yet another trade that happened earlier today. Thoughts on this one for both sides?
Yeah, I mean, the secondary is good in Philly at the top, but you look at kind of the way they were able to rotate and throw James Bradbury and Darius Slay out there last year, along with DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. After losing those guys, haven't had the same success. Keely Ringo has been pretty much a liability
Mm-hmm.
in the secondary. So yeah, now to be able to add in a guy like Michael Carter, who's very talented, and like you said with Vic Fangio, look, I trust whatever Vic Fangio wants to do. If this helps Vic Fangio do what he needs to do to feel like he has a better defense, I'm going to go ahead and trust it. 2018 Bears had a great defense led by Vic Fangio. Last year, Super Bowl run had a great defense led by Vic Fangio. Yeah, you do what that guy says. So I like this move. And with the moving on from moving John Mechie here, look, gets an opportunity to maybe be a more signature featured wide receiver, especially kind of like we talked about the potential move of Garrett Wilson by the New York Jets this offseason. Don't know how likely that is, but if they do end up going full scale reset, that could be a move they make. Mechie could find himself playing in a big role. I think he'll even find himself playing in a much bigger role with or without Garrett Wilson here. And his time in Philly, he wasn't bad, but you look at the depth they've got: AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dodson. It's just hard to get out there on the field to play alongside these guys. So now he's going to get a better opportunity. A young, talented wide receiver who, in the flashes and the short times we've seen him, has been great here in the NFL. I'm just hoping he can find somewhere where he can kind of be like a feature wide receiver and get a
Right.
chance to be a team receiver because he was talented at Alabama. And again, he's been talented in those limited moments. A little bit last year with Houston, a little bit this year with Philly. I'd really like to see him get a little bit more featured in an offense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was great Alabama. I think he was one suffered that leg injury at Alabama and then came back for the Natty. And then once he got into the NFL, he unfortunately got the cancer diagnosis that really took out his rookie year. So hopefully see him get some firm ground there in New York and can be a stable piece for the future there because I think he can be good. Like I said, he's just about finding a stable place where they can get him involved in the offense. And in Philly, with all those weapons, it just wasn't going to happen there.
Yeah.
So, that's it for trades as of right now. Who knows? There might be one that breaks while we're recording here. But we did have one more piece of breaking news today. The Lions, yet again, Austin, locking up their future pieces. And those future pieces, one of them, the man who I don't want to say turned around the team, but really brought the fans together. The Detroit Lions signing Aiden Hutchinson to a 4-year extension. Told it's $181 million with over $140 million guaranteed. And I mean, I don't know what else to say, Austin. He's been awesome coming off that ACL injury, and they've loved him in Detroit. And I think this is a proof of that, if not anything else.
Yeah, look, like you said, the Lions doing it again. They've really committed. They do it right. You have a guy that's good. Why do we have some ownership that plays around with the money and says, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know." It's almost like we had an edge rusher and an ownership debate all off season that just dragged on and didn't make any sense. I can't exactly put my finger on it right now. But it's just glad to see that not everybody's like that. Why is it so hard? Pay the guy what he's worth. He's a talented defensive end. He's come back from a gruesome injury and still been explosive, still been extremely valuable, still been the heart and soul of this defense. Brings that energy that Dan Campbell has brought since the first day as the head coach of the Lions. This was the right move when they brought him in, and he's been exciting. This is the right way to treat your players. He's been good for you. Pay him what he's worth, bring him back, and have 4 more years that you know you're going to have a dominant defensive player and a force that's going to keep you competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about some recent Lions extensions, obviously including Aiden Hutchinson. You had Jared Goff's 4-year extension, Amon-Ra St. Brown 4-year extension, Penei Sewell, Jamison Williams, Kirby Joseph, Alan McNeil, and Taylor Decker, and that's just to name a few there. So the Lions, I mean, like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. These guys have been working awesome for us. Why don't we keep them around and make sure we can keep them around on the offense for that? So of course, not the highest pass rusher with this deal. Don't forget the Micah Parsons major extension that occurred before that. But that is all the breaking news as far as I'm aware of right now. I mean, again, we're going to have a lot more next week whenever we record this on Wednesday because trade deadline is next Tuesday. So all trades will be completed by Tuesday. So we'll have a lot more trades to talk about. And like I said, and you mentioned last week, I don't think we're anywhere close to done. There's still some big names on the market that could move at this trade deadline. Let's talk about some of the games now, even though they were blowouts. And Austin, I just want to talk about this team, not really the game, but again, the continued dominance of the Indianapolis Colts. Won 38-14 over the Tennessee Titans here, moving to 7-1. I just want to talk about some of the stuff I've been able to find about this team. Number one, point differential leader at 116 so far this year. You want to know who's in second? The Patriots with 67. It's not even close when it comes to it. Jonathan Taylor, currently on Triple Crown watch right now, leading the NFL in carries, rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns. He is on pace to have over 2,000 yards and 29 total touchdowns this year. Daniel Jones has been efficient. I mean, we talk about it every single week here, and we keep on thinking, like eventually it's going to fall off. This start can't last forever with Daniel Jones and the Colts from what we've seen. But my gosh, Austin, it's just been pure domination by the Colts in this first half of the season.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. When we talked about it last week, we're at the point now where we can't keep saying like eventually it's going to fall. We just have to start considering this team as a top tier team in the AFC, and they're going to be competitive. Maybe they won't win the Super Bowl, but they're going to be a team competing in the playoffs this offseason. Obviously, feels like pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point that they're going to win that division. Nobody really keeping that close with them right now. And then, on top of that, just absolutely playing great football right now. We people need to stop looking at it as when do the wheels fall off and just start realizing like this is going to be a top tier team this year.
Yeah, talking about it. Someone else I want to bring up to you. All the talk of if Saquon didn't get MVP votes last year, then nobody's going to get them ever. Saquon had 15 touchdowns in 2024. Jonathan Taylor has 14 touchdowns, and it's week 8. And like I say, he's on pace for the scrimmage yards. So if he keeps up this pace, do you see him as a legitimate MVP candidate, or are we sitting here again talking about how they were robbed and it's a QB award again?
It's tough. I think he's going to be an MVP candidate if this pace continues. I just, after what we saw out of Cooper Cup a few years ago, what we see out of Saquon Barkley last year, what can a non-quarterback do to win the award?
That one, yeah.
Um, I hope Jonathan Taylor puts himself in the argument. I hope he has another great season. And we can see him have a chance to win the MVP. And if he doesn't, I think that'll be all right because it'll just be another step in this whole argument about MVP and what it's worth. I think if Jonathan Taylor continues on the pace he's on, like you said, 2,000 yards rushing. Has anybody ever rushed for 2,000 yards in the NFL?
I think Saquon did it last year. There's been 7 or 8 guys that have ever rushed for 2,000 yards. It's not a wide club. It's still very few guys that have ever done it.
It's like you rush for 2,000 yards and you score a bunch. He's going to put up I mean, unless he scores one touchdown between now and the end of the season, he's gonna score more than Saquon Barkley. I just don't know how you do it. I think legitimately, he has another great season like this and doesn't win the MVP award. We seriously have to sit down and abolish the MVP award, and we have the most valuable quarterback and then the offensive player of the year.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed. Might
and
just
there's
just
no
call
more
it the
MVPs.
quarterback award. That's all you just need to
Yeah,
call it.
because it's not the most. It's just not. It wasn't the MVP. Last year. The MVP was not the most valuable player. No
No,
offense to Josh Allen. Love that he gets to add a little hardware. He was the best quarterback in the NFL last year,
agreed.
but
Yeah,
he was not the most valuable player. Saquon Barkley was clearly the most valuable player. And I think at that point the discretion, like the difference, just needs to be clear. Because right now it feels like these guys have a chance when they really don't. And I think at this point we maybe just need to have the conversation. It just needs to be clear that you're never going to be allowed to win the MVP. So you shouldn't even be up for the award. It should just be most valuable quarterback, and then
right.
everybody else competes for offensive player of the year.
Yeah, and don't forget Justin Jefferson was up for it a few years ago as well. He was a finalist
That's
for the
true.
award. But I looked it up. There have been 9 players who have rushed for 2,000 yards in a single season. O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis, Jamal Lewis, Chris Johnson, totally random shout out, Chris Johnson, legend. Adrian
Wow.
Peterson, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley. Those are the current members of the 2000 rushing club. I mean, not a bad list there. Yeah, shout out Chris Johnson and Jamal Lewis. I haven't said those names in a hot minute.
Chris Johnson is absolutely insane. And I also, are we allowed to say OJ Simpson on the podcast?
Uh,
Um,
I mean, yeah, I said it already. So I guess to
yeah.
be fair, this is the only time I plan to ever really bring him up, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So
I don't
I don't know
I
any
don't know
other
how many
reason
OJ's.
to bring him up.
Yeah, he has no other notable life
No,
events that have ever occurred.
can't think of anything else. Can't think of
Just a
anything
heck
else
of a
at all.
running back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he was a killer around the football field. I mean, what can we say? But let's dive
That
into
might
some.
be cut that. Cut that. Too far.
Let's talk now. Let's get back on track here, talking about some of the teams. Storyline here in the NFL. We talked about it already a little bit with the Patriots, but not just them and the Broncos. Where we kind of talked about the Broncos here, blowing out the Cowboys 44-24. Patriots beating the Browns 32-13. Both teams have now won 5 straight games. Both of them now sitting at 6-2. Best start for the Patriots since 2019. Best start for the Denver Broncos since 2016. So, really, for both these teams, we've already talked a little bit about what the Patriots have done good, but we still add a little bit more about what we've loved from the Patriots, as well as the Denver Broncos to start this season so far.
Yeah, I love to see with the Patriots Vrabel working out because we both thought it was the right move. Thought it was maybe should have been made a year ago, and Tennessee's foolish. Um, I think Vrabel just gets football. It doesn't matter who you give him; he just makes it happen and gets the job done. And as far as the Denver Broncos, this was, kind of the test here. Cowboys have been good. Their offense has been good, playing well. Were they going to come out and, play a complete game? And I think a 44-24 final score kind of
Yep.
shows you they played a complete game. Their offense looked really good. I think, again, that comeback against the Giants in the fourth quarter really woke this offense up, and I think it's got this team on track. So the defenses have been great, but now that the offense is firing on all cylinders, it's really going to be tough to catch this Broncos team.
Yeah, we're going to see if that certain team from Kansas City can catch them. It's going to be very hard to catch up with the Broncos if they keep on winning like they are. But obviously, the big news for Denver coming out of this game was the disappointing news about Pat Surtain, who suffered a pectoral injury. He's going to be out. I believe they said 4 to 6 weeks with this injury. Now, the good news for Denver is they have a quality secondary. Chade Barron, they drafted in the first round. They have Riley Moss. They have one of the best defenses in the entire NFL with a lot of great pass rushers. I think I saw a stat so far this year. I don't remember if I still have it, where they currently lead the NFL in sacks defensively, but they also lead the NFL in least amount of sacks given up offensively. So
Wow.
yeah. First team. It's the first team in NFL history with 35 or more sacks and 10 or fewer sacks allowed in its first 8 games of a season. So both sides of the line are doing really good work for Denver. So this losing past Surtain for a couple of weeks, it could hurt you at points, but with how good the rest of this team is, everyone else is playing right now, take your time with Pat Surtain because I think we can agree this will probably be a Broncos team we'll see in the postseason. You want to make sure he is 100% come that time.
Agreed.
But really, I'll be honest with you, the only other storyline to talk about would be Sunday Night Football, Steelers and Packers. Packers win that one 35-25 there. Milo, can I just say somehow the Jersey matchup looked even worse than I thought it was going to look? Like, it legit hurt my eyes to watch this game before the Steelers started playing bad defense. And then,
Yeah.
now it happened here. But Jordan Love absolutely dominated, torched this Steeler defense in the win. I mean, my goodness, the Steelers defense couldn't stop anything if their lives depended on Jordan Love with a phenomenal game. 3 touchdown passes, 360 yards, 29 of 37. Went on a streak at one point in the game, I think, of completing almost 20 passes in a row against the Steeler defense. So disappointing for the Steelers. But I mean, your thoughts on it? Green Bay now 5-1-1, really should be 5-2, but as of now, the only NFC team with only one loss.
Yeah, they're playing good football right now. They're in a groove. They're competitive. Um, it looked at times, what's going on with this team up and down. But right now, in a groove, getting a big win against the Steelers. I think they're going to be a tough team to catch. And for the Steelers, we keep talking about it. Man, they have the opportunities to try and control this division, and they're not getting it done. Now, uh, here's the unfortunate part. Like, I guess the fortunate part is the Bengals, who are probably the closest team to you right now, they did lose. But
But
Ravens
yeah,
are probably getting Lamar Jackson back, and they
yeah,
won a game that they weren't supposed to win without Lamar Jackson. This is the type of situation you did not want to set up. Hey,
yeah.
guess what? Lamar's coming back, and they're a game closer to you in the standings now.
Mm-hmm.
Not ideal. Play the Dolphins coming up on Thursday. I know we'll talk about it here in just a minute, but you got to start thinking Steelers got to kick it into gear. They've got a good team. They've got to start playing football.
Yeah. The problem again to me comes down to the defenses with the scheme. I like how Mike Tomlin blames the offense for not finishing off drives and everything. I'm like, what are you talking about? Have you not seen your defense, your baby, as you've said several times here? It's funny. Dan Orlovsky, the ESPN analyst, he said, sometimes I just watch the Steelers defense on film and I go, what are they doing? And I'm like, you know what? I sit at home wondering the same thing, Dan. I wonder the same thing. But it's just funny watching how the Steelers defense is collapsing apart because it's the same scheme everyone's seen it a million times. I've heard Julian Edelman say it a million times. Whenever he watches Steelers games nowadays, he's like, shoot, they ran that against us back in like 2015. And I'm like, are you what?
That's not good.
It's about to say, if he's calling out stuff that we're running from 2015, I'm not having fun. And don't worry, as we get more into it, don't worry. The Steelers get a really, really, really easy game against the best team in the NFL next week. Let's dive into week 9 in the NFL, the halfway point here. Hopefully, a more entertaining Sunday. We will find out. Let's talk about Thursday Night Football. Again, mainly for the TikTok post, so I can post it on the TikTok. 2-5 Ravens taking on the 2-6 Dolphins. Like you said, I don't want to say I was really mad at your Chicago Bears on Sunday. I was really mad at your Bears on Sunday, mainly because I knew the Steelers wouldn't take care of business. And I was like, look, put the Ravens at 1-6. Just put them at 1-6. And if we blow it there, then it's not on you. But now they won a game without Lamar. Lamar is now fully expected to be back for this game on Thursday night against the Dolphins team who's coming off its best game of the season with how it's looked. Two teams with bad records, but this could be a really entertaining game on Thursday Night Football. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think both defenses are weak enough to where we see an offensive kind of shootout in this game. I'd like to see Lamar back. get his opportunities. And I think Tua will, after having the game he had last week, I think he'll function facing this defense a little bit better than Caleb Williams did last week. I'd take the over in this game. It's at 50.5 right now. I'd
Yeah.
probably take the over. I think these two teams are going to sling it. I think they're going to have fun on offense. But ultimately, I think the Ravens are the better team. You got the momentum from last week. Lamar's coming back. It's time to look out in the AFC as the Ravens are going to probably start to find their footing a little bit.
Yeah, this is the time for that one. So obviously this matchup, I'll just get out of the way. I'm gonna unfortunately, as unfortunate as it is, I'm gonna pick the Ravens to win this game. I think if they're getting Lamar back and Derrick Henry back together, I know the defense still isn't 100%, so there's that. But with Lamar and Derrick Henry back, it's going to be stuff to stop this team. I'm assuming, you would absolutely agree with that statement, as would everyone in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's it for Thursday night. Both of us going with the Ravens there. Let's dive into Sunday slate. And oh my gosh, I got to talk about this game. 7-1 Colts heading to Pittsburgh to take on the 4-3 Steelers. Already talked about how historic this Colts team been. 116 plus point differential. Jonathan Taylor's on pace to be the single best running season ever. Daniel Jones looks like an MVP candidate. Their defense is forcing turnovers, getting pressure. Steelers, 2 terrible weeks defensively, and now you're taking on arguably the best offense in the NFL so far this year. It scripts for disaster. But if there is one thing I know about the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is that they play up to competition. They play down to competition several times. But when they got to play up against teams, knowing them, they will somehow play up to it and make it close. But what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm with you. I think it'll be close. I think they'll be able to be in this game. But right now, with the Colts playing the way they're playing, I just don't know that there's going to be any beating them, especially with kind of the concerns and inconsistencies we've seen defensively from the Steelers. I keep saying every week they're going to get it together this week. They're finally going to start to play. I said it. I literally said this last week when we talked about the game. The defense is going to figure itself out. It's going to get the job done. It didn't. It didn't. It didn't. I don't know that they will here against the Indianapolis Colts. And if you can't stop Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor, you're going to be in for a long, long night. I'm going to go with the Colts in this one.
Yeah, I do not blame you one freaking bit for that, because I would do the same if I was not a Steelers fan, and I have to be biased here and pick the Steelers for this game. Absolutely terrified. There's a small part of me that thinks that I might not have to watch the second half of this game because it could get that ugly. I really don't.
Yeah.
It might be like Bills Steelers from a few years ago in the regular season whenever I quit watching after the first quarter because I knew it was done. Next game we're going to pick here, talking about it, Minnesota heading to Detroit to take on the Lions. Bring this up, J.J. McCarthy was a full participant at practice today, so it seems more than likely he will return for this matchup against the Lions. Lions are feeling good, rhythms there, but we know how good this defense is for Minnesota and how they can pressure the quarterback. We've seen it several times, and we know it's an in-division matchup, always going to be close with these two teams. Minnesota and Detroit, what are your thoughts heading into this one on Sunday afternoon?
I think J.J. McCarthy can help give this team a lift, and I think it's certainly good to be getting him back, especially since it seems like Wentz is getting a little bit banged up out there right now. But I don't know that he's going to come in right away and just deliver, perfect football. And now he hasn't had to have perfect games for them to win. I think week 1, we can look at that game again. I think I'll bring that up a lot this season. And just how impressed I was with, he played a relatively terrible first 3 quarters of football, and then really had a great fourth quarter and helped lead this comeback for the Vikings. So I don't think there's no chance, but I think this is the wrong team to be coming back from injury from. It's like the opposite of the spectrum. Lamar's got a great team in the Dolphins to be coming back and finding your groove against. The Detroit Lions and Aiden Hutchinson, who we just talked about earlier, not exactly the team I'd want to be coming back from an ankle injury from. So I'm going to take the Detroit Lions at home to get the job done.
Yeah, especially given the job Detroit did against Baker Mayfield 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Football. Now J.J. McCarthy in his 3rd career start.
Yeah.
I hope he does well, but I don't think he's going to do well. I'm agreeing with you. And as I say every single week, I don't doubt Dan Campbell, so I'm going to pick the Lions in this game. Next game we're going to talk about is the one, Austin, that we have been waiting for really since the start of the season. It's the game everyone has circled every single year that they face off, and it's in Buffalo this year. The Chiefs and the Bills, 325 on CBS. Currently, Chiefs are 1 point favorite. Chiefs, the last couple of weeks with Rashee Rice back, their offense looks potent. And then you look at the Bills last week, kind of got their groove back against the Panthers. James Cook over 200 yards rushing. Josh Allen looked good. The defense gained some momentum in this one. It's always an instant classic when these two face off in the regular season or in the postseason. We saw this matchup live in person last year in the AFC Championship. So, who wins this matchup in the regular season of a game that I know and you know all of America is going to be tuned in for?
Yeah, what an incredible experience last year to be able to see these two teams face off. And, a huge game in Kansas City. Awesome environment, awesome game. Like you said, always an instant classic. I think it's going to be a close game. I'd take the over in this game as well, over 52 and a half. I think the defenses are a little bit maybe the two worst defenses these teams have pulled out in the
I
last
would
4 or
agree.
5 years
I would agree with that.
of clashing. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think this will be a high scoring game, back and forth. But look, Buffalo's done such a great job defending their home field over the last couple of years that I think they get the upper hand in this one and they get the win and a close one, but they get the victory over the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, if there is one thing I will say about the Chiefs win the matchups in the postseason, no doubt. And that's something I hope to see change. But the Bills know how to win the regular season matchups. They've dominated the regular season matchups. So I'm going to pick the Bills in this one at home. Hopefully, it's a different story where if the Chiefs do win, then maybe that means that Buffalo's going to get the win in the postseason, maybe. So we'll see
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, agreed.
But as far as I know right now, Bills have been dominant in the regular season against them. I'm going to pick the Bills to win this game. Now, Sunday Night Football. For this one, we've got the Seattle Seahawks heading to Washington to take on the Commanders. And of course, the Commanders played on Monday Night Football very recently. No Jane Daniels, kind of got blown out by the Chiefs in that game. Seattle 5-2, gaining momentum. As far as I know, Jane Daniels practiced in full today for the Commanders and is on track to play on Sunday Night Football. So it should be an entertaining matchup between these two teams that are trying to be the new up-and-comers in the NFC on Sunday night. Who do you got winning this one in prime time on NBC?
Well, kind of in our conversation that we had last week about Jane Daniels, I hope that he's 100%.
Yeah.
Let's learn a lesson. Let's not rush him back. But if he is ready to go, this is going to be a fun game to watch. But I'm still going to ride with Seattle in this game. This Commanders team will be pretty much at full strength offensively, so I'm not going to put anything past them. Now that they got Debo and Terry back last week, I'd like to see Jaden Daniels have some success here. But I think Seattle is going to be able to do it all, get the job done. I just think it's going to be the Seahawks are a tough team to stop right now.
Yeah, they are. And, you talked about Terry McLaurin coming back from that quad injury. I learned actually earlier today, really like an hour or two ago, he actually re-injured his quad on
Oh,
Monday Night
wow.
Football. So he has already been ruled out for this game versus
Oh,
Seattle.
so I'm
So,
a slow.
yeah, I was about to say, well, no, I literally found out about this like 2 hours ago. So it was fairly recent news. So, but no, Jaden Daniels not 100%. No Terry McLaurin. I want to pick Washington in the game, but if Jane's not 100%, I really don't want him out there. So
Agreed.
I'm going to pick Seattle in the game because overall I think they're the healthier team, and right now they're the better team. And that defense is going to cause some problems. That Washington defense really hasn't been that impressive this year, so Sam Darnold could have a really solid game. I'm hoping Jane Nails is 100%, and that's the reason he's playing. If he's not 100%, I don't want him out there. But I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to pick Seattle to win this game. Monday Night Football. Could be a shootout here on Monday night. We'll see. Dallas Cowboys hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Let's just say it like it is. With every single Cowboys game this year, it feels like you got to take the over. At least that's what it feels like with what
Yeah.
we've seen the last couple of weeks here. So we'll see if Dallas can get back on track, get back to 500. But for the Cardinals, Obviously, the thing that everyone's wondering about Kyler Murray, as far as I know, he was at practice today. So he should be able to return as far as I know. Again, I'm not 100%. He might be ruled out right before game time. So we'll see. But fun fact I learned here, Austin, I thought was just funny. Kyler Murray is actually 9-0 all time when playing at AT&T Stadium, going back to his high school days. So he's
Wow.
undefeated in Jerry World. Question is, Austin, does he get it to 10-0 if he starts, or does the Cowboys offense stay red hot?
Everything I just kind of looked, just did a quick little search. It looks like he's primed to come back. I think the Cardinals are leaning Kyler Murray back. And with Kyler Murray coming back, I think this Cardinals offense can be pretty great against Dallas's defense, which has not been great. And coming off a pretty ejecting finish last week against the Broncos, I think they can ride that momentum. I like Kyler Murray to move to 10-0 at AT&T Stadium and go big on the numbers. I think Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense can play good again. But with Kyler Murray back, I think this Cardinals offense goes up a notch.
Okay, all right. Uh, I think with it being Kyler, I think Kyler back absolutely helps this offense. We'll probably end up doing that over pick on Monday Night Football, if I'm
Yeah.
being honest. Even though it's at 54, that is easily cashed for the Cowboys in every single game so far this season.
Yep.
So I think it'll be a high scoring affair, take a lot of points, but two defenses that really have a lot of question marks. Man, probably flip a coin for me. I'm going to go with the quarterback who's been the healthier and the better one in the matchup. I'm going to pick Dak Prescott and the Cowboys at home. Flip of a coin for me, though. This is a tough one. This will probably be a really close game, high scoring. It's what you want for Monday Night Football. You want to sit on your couch after a long Monday, watch a high scoring game with two close teams, and get you a great game. That's what we all want for Monday night. I think we can all agree on that as fans of the NFL.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there.
But let's dive into now this next section, the bet of the week. And ladies and gentlemen, like we have said for multiple weeks now, the bet of the week so far this year has just, it's not been our forte, you may say, I think so far
Yeah,
this year.
I'm with you there.
Um, Colts did cover for us, though. We're right back on track. Colts covered for you, dominating the Titans. Bengals and Jets. Man, I felt confident about the over. I didn't feel that confident where it'd be a 39-38 game.
Yeah,
So we got back on track this past week. Can we keep it up? That's been our issue, is getting some consistent wins for y'all. We hope to do
yeah.
it this week. Bet of the week, Austin, what do you got?
Look, I'm gonna ride the momentum. Like you said, Colts covered for me. We're gonna hold to that. I've got another kind of yucky, icky matchup as far as spread's concerned. I like the Rams minus 14 against the New Orleans Saints. Tyler Shuck
Woo!
making his first start. I'm not gonna doubt the guy, but how much better can Spencer Rattler can he really be in his first start against one of the best defenses in the NFL? That hopefully just got a big upgrade with the addition of Roger McCreary. I expect the Rams to keep the pressure on Tyler Shuck, make things happen, and win big. So I like minus 14 here.
Okay, all right. So a couple of things I considered here. Um, Actually, did almost consider a bet in this game. That was the under in this game. I was very close to going with that, but my thinking here is there's a couple of games I considered, and it'd be a really funny reversal of fortune because it's a bet that I do feel pretty confident in. Um, this could completely come back and slap me in the face with it. But I just think with all the injuries that have happened to the Giants, it'll be such a distraught team. And with the number of San Francisco only being favored by 2.5 and how good their coaching staff and everyone's been, it's hard for me to bet against that. I'm going to take San Francisco minus 2.5 against the Giants.
I
All they
like
got to
that.
do is all they got to do is beat the Giants by a field goal. San Francisco may not be the most talented team, but they know how to win the games for the most part. Again, obviously not with Houston, but that Houston one last week was a weird rarity where Houston just held onto the ball. If the Giants could do that, they had Cam Scadaboo, but they don't. Normal Malik Neighbors, Jackson Dart's going to be fighting for his life. I'll take San Francisco minus 2.5. But that is going to do it for us. There's our bets of the week. You've got it from Austin. Rams minus 14, Niners minus 2.5 for me. We're staying in the NFC West with our bets of the week. We'll see if that goes for us.
Yep.
Again, if you haven't already, Go give the college football episode a watch or listen. Yet another coach firing. We talk about maybe some targets for that LSU job that came open and some fun matchups we could see this weekend. And hey, who knows? If that battle of the ravine does happen, as they say on some shows, road trip? Question mark. We'll see. That's if it comes. We'll find out. But that's going to do it for this episode. That's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Wader, and we want to thank you for listening.